Hey guys, what's going on? James here, and in this video today, I am talking to Tampa Bay Buccaneers running back Chase Edmonds. Chase, how you doing today, man?
James, brother, how you doing? Appreciate you having me.
I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good. Now listen, this is technically the first slash second part of this interview. Me, you,
Yeah,
Shane, and Voss have already sat down. We've already talked about seeing for everybody who is watching this interview. Stay tuned to the second half because this is actually a really cool business opportunity that Chase and a couple of his colleagues have been working on. So really stay tuned. You're not going to want to miss that opportunity. But we're going to take a few minutes here, Chase. I've got some questions for you regarding your time with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and really just your football career as a whole, man. So again, hey, I thank you for taking some time to dive into this with me, all right?
yes, sir, brother. I appreciate you. Knock them away.
Of course, man, of course. So the first question I have for you is this. Now, you just had your first year with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. You had a situation where you were with the Miami Dolphins, with the Denver Broncos last year, and
Yeah,
then you came into a situation with Tampa Bay. How would you describe your first year with the Buccaneers? Was it good? I know you had some
yeah,
injury stuff in there as well. Just describe what this first year was like.
man. Definitely finished super strong. First class organization with first class people, all the way up from the top, from the Glazer family, obviously, down to literally to the bottom of just the regular staff. So us starting off at 3-1, heading into the bye. Young team, already kind of you read what people are saying about predictions and what they think that the season's going to be. So kind of feeling ourselves a little bit too much to where like you go in the bye thinking it's sweet. At that time, I had already got my MCL injury. I think I got my MCL injury the week before the bye week, the Chicago game. And I remember being in a spot just like, damn, bro, like I'm hurt again. Like I felt like I was gonna start getting some groove to really try to get the two spot and kind of compete behind there. And going through those trials and tribulations, it was nothing new that I hadn't been used to already. I've been through plenty of trials and tribulations in my NFL career. Just trying to maintain that leadership role and that good energy. I'm big on just good energy, bro. Being around people who just you can just feel energy. You know what I mean? Being around, just showing with a smile on my face, still coming to work, still working hard, still trying to find a way to just be productive for the younger guys in the room. So that in itself was a blessing, and then obviously coming back and starting to build just a little bit of momentum, kind of be like that change of pace back behind Rashad. It was cool to be on the team that we started to gain momentum, and it started to get really really fun. From like week 12 to we lost to Detroit. I mean, it was just some of the most fun that I've had. You could just really see that the team felt that we were starting to gel, and like guys got closer. Like that week 12 to week 17 run, we got so close as a team compared to like when we first started out. It was kind of clicks a little bit still, just because we had so many young guys. You got some veteran guys, and you got the guys that won the championship with each other. So it was kind of like trying to just get through that mold and mold it all together. And I think we did a great job of just when the adversity struck, bro, honing in, ignoring the outside noise because that's hard to do in this league. It's really hard to do, and be able to put it together.
Yeah, and a follow up question to that too, because you talked about it. Obviously with your MCL injury that you had throughout that first month of the season, but then, like you said, 3-1 going into the bye week,
Yeah,
things took a drastic turn, right?
yeah. We
Coming in,
lost the next four.
yeah, you guys ended up
Yeah,
being, I think it was 4-7 at one point,
yeah. You're right. 4-7.
and then like you said, the team went on an absolute tear, an absolute run. I want you to expand a little bit on that. Like, what was the vibe of the locker room whenever you guys were at four and
Yeah.
seven, and talk a little bit more about as the weeks were progressing there, you guys started winning more games. Just talk
hmm
about more about how that confidence was building up.
The vibe of the room at 4-7. I'm not going to be able to speak for the entire team,
Hmm.
but in the offensive room, and this is one of the reasons why he just got the head coaching job at Carolina. But it was Dave Canales. Dave Canales already, if for all the people watching this interview, you already know about him. He's just a super positive, vibrant guy. Vibrant individual. Like you are never going to see Dave Canales hang his head. I think one that Carolina got an absolute fire of a hire. I think it's going to be a great hire for them. But so it was really no like excessive turmoil than what it already was. Obviously you're 4-7. You kind of go on this losing streak. Everybody's pissed off. Nobody's, what I mean. Nobody's talking about, oh, we're so happy. But like, there's when shit hits the fan, and then there's when shit really hits the fan. And we were able to kind of hone in as a group, stay together, led by obviously Dave Canales and his positivity, and just always saying, no, guys, going into every offensive meeting and every single week, week in and week out, and Dave just harps on trusting the process. trust in the process. It's not about where you start right now. It's just trusting the process, getting better every single week. And I think from when we were 4-7, that's what the mindset kind of went to. It literally went to, you know what, guys, we're not gonna worry about the score right now. We're 4-7. We got to figure out how to right this ship. All we're gonna do is focus on getting a little bit better every single week. And obviously having leadership guys like Mike Ebb, obviously championship ring, CG championship ring, T Worth, Dog on the O line championship ring, kind of setting the tone. We had guys kind of at different levels setting the tone always, and then Bake starts playing on a heater, and going back to that charismatic Bake, it's not that Bake changed or anything, but like when Bake first got there, he had to earn the trust of everybody, obviously, right? And that trust has to continuously be earned week in and week out. Like just because I feel like the guys in the locker room, he wins the quarterback job. Okay, he won the quarterback job. Most people probably from the outside expected that. And then we go 3-1. Well, now we just hit the fan and we lost 4 in a row. Like, how are we going to respond? And I think the number one reason why we did that was, Bake's play. He started playing heaters, bro, and he started having that swag and that charisma that he always has, and it kind of just gave us crazy momentum. And obviously the defense was playing lights out. I felt like we had the DPOY this year that he didn't even be a finalist, but that's a whole nother conversation.
But I do want to expand on a couple of things that you said there. So number one is, expand a little bit on Baker. It's
Yeah.
I know that you put it best. The second half of the year, he was going and really putting up some great numbers against the Packers, against the Jaguars, and then all the way to the playoffs, right? Essentially, it
Yeah.
was just playing some really strong football. You spent the entire year with him. What was he like as a teammate? What was he like as a leader? Just kind of
Yeah.
describe that relationship you had with him.
Man, just a great teammate. Always speaking to everybody, no matter who you are on the team, making sure guys are on the same page. Plays around like Bake does a great job of having that ratio of keeping it light in meeting rooms, like being the guy that gets people to laugh, and he says a funny joke, whatever. But also obviously lighting the fire under people like the night before a game or like game that you just see you see the fire in his eyes, bro. I remember when he was first coming out of all the quarterbacks that were coming out that year, was like 5 of them. I was like, damn, like Bake is the one that I would want to play with just because you just saw that alpha leadership role. Like you felt like no matter what, when you go into battle, we got a shot to win this game just because you can see the fire in his eyes. So I would say that.
I gotcha. And to expand on a couple more things that you talked about too, where you had mentioned that running back room and
Yeah.
working with Rashad White, and you were the vet of that group, right? So you were kind of the guy who taking that leadership role. Describe how that was this past year, working with guys like Rashad
Yeah.
White and Sean Tucker and some of those other guys that were in that mix.
Definitely a fun one. It was different from when I shared the backfield with other people. So like in Arizona, it was me and JC my year 4. That was a great dynamic relationship just because we complement each other well, and also like the team was really doing well. Me and KD in year 3 was also a great relationship. So like anytime anybody that I've always shared the backfield with, always been a great relationship. This one was a different dynamic because I was going into year 6, Shad was going into year 2. Shad was so young, but like in his mindset and how he approached the game, like his love for the game, how he worked, he reminded me so much of myself, my younger self, bro. Just like the fire to always want to be great, just always do a perfect rep, always do an extra rep. And that was something that I have felt like, you know what? Everything happens for a reason. I'm gonna come here, and if I can just be a small part of this guy's journey, this kid's journey, and just give him some small tips on how to be a pro, how to carry yourself, how to act after certain games, how to like when stuff does go bad, bro, you know, soak it in real quick, reflect on it, and move on, and how to just handle the success that he was gonna be having. My biggest thing was just that if I could be a role model to him in life and not just football, because obviously he's already got to this point in his career. He's already been successful at football. I really wanted to harp on him like, yo, bro, like I've been in this league now 6 years. I'm going on 7, especially with how they treat running backs right now. I ain't got too much left, and like I'm just embracing this experience. I'm embracing this role to just give you knowledge, all the knowledge that I've gotten, all the knowledge that my OGs have given me. I just want to pass it to you. So like a big thing that I do, and I just went on vacation with him. I mean, we have a great relationship with each other, bro. But just teaching him about life with taxes, with real estate, like not going broke, doing this and obviously putting on for your last name and your dreams, but seeing the bigger picture and that, like, when this game is over, bro, you got to figure out how you're going to figure life out. And that's something that, I harped on with just like Larry Fitz was my OG in Arizona. I was very, very lucky and fortunate enough that Larry took me, Christian Kirk, and Trent Sherfield under his wing and just showed us everything about life, especially with business and just especially what to expect in in the highs and the lows of the football journey, because everybody has them. At some point in your career, everybody has them. So just giving him that knowledge, and that was just a great dynamic for me because I never played the big brother role until I played like that role this year, and it was cool to just watch from the sidelines, man, and watch him continuously get better and better and better and better, and watch and just to know how much work he put in and know how much that he cares about it. Just it felt like it was my brother, doing that. So that was really a cool experience for me.
Yeah, and that's something you just brought it up too, where the running, not just Rashad, but I mean, I think the entirety of the running game just getting better and better as the weeks had progressed. Where you guys were going on that streak after that 4-7 start, what would you say were some of the main contributing factors to that versus where the running game may have been earlier on in the season?
I think it was a little bit. It was a little combination of a lot of things. I think the one combination was that it was kind of like the back against the wall. Guys just realized that, man, we lose another game. The season's over. Might as well pack it up, go to Cabo, do whatever you're gonna do, go on your separate way. Another thing, obviously, was definitely Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. Teams just could not play us in one high, and they had to play us in two high shell, which meant that it was going to be seven in the box. That's always a favorable matchup for the offense. And then again, another component of that was just the O line itself. The O line got a lot of I felt like they got a lot of heat for heat that they didn't deserve at times. Everyone does not know the situation behind closed doors of what goes on in terms of a football game and how offense operates. But these guys were also super young. I mean, T. Worth is young. He just is really good. He's all worldly. But these guys were super young. You have a first year center that's starting in Hainsey, who I absolutely love, Robert Hainsey. He was originally a guard, has to go to center. He was supposed to, kind of mold and learn behind Big Red, but Big Red gets hurt at the beginning of the year, so he has to go in the center immediately, and figure out how he's going to start a whole season at a position that he's never played in. You had Cody Mott, who was a great rookie, great player, but Cody was a little bit light, so that was his struggle at guard, just because Cody's a little light in the ass, but he continuously got better every single week, and he's going to be a great guard for a long time in this league. But he was a converted tight end in college. You know what I mean? Like you got my boy Luke. Luke is playing right tackle. I think you guys drafted him as right tackle, which was his position, but he had to play guard
Yep.
year one.
Yeah.
So Luke had to play guard in year one. So really, the only non-question mark that you had on the line, was just with those four guys, and then we kind of had a swing at guard before Stinney took over, was left tackle Tristan Wirfs, and he still had a question mark because he was playing right tackle his whole career. So it was just a lot of moving factors and different factors that people that don't know what they're talking about don't look at and they don't understand when you talk about thousands and thousands and thousands of mental reps and trying to like neurologically shift your brain to learn from going from right side to left side to from guard to center. It's just a lot of moving parts. And the team, the O-line in particular, just continuously, bro, got better and better and better. And another thing was that obviously they stayed healthy. A lot of linemen don't stay healthy. You very rarely see five guys always start the whole year, but God was on our side with that one. But I think it was a lot of those components.
Yeah, I think that's something that people didn't talk about enough. Great
Yeah.
point. I mean, 4 out of the 5 guys had played previous positions at the NFL level and had to move to a different position. So I agree 100% where you're coming from when you talk about it takes time for these things to
Yeah,
gel.
literally.
I mean, everybody may be NFL guys, but it still takes time to learn any type of new job, let alone a new professional level football position.
Right. Literally, bro.
Um,
Literally.
for sure. But and then one guy I do want to get your comments on, because I feel like this has been a person who maybe even might not have gotten enough credit, from that 4-7 run to the playoffs, and that's
Yeah.
head coach Todd Bowles.
Yeah.
What were your thoughts and opinions on Todd Bowles with your first year with him, and
Yeah.
how did he really help keep this team together throughout the
Love,
season?
love Todd, man. First of all, I'll start by saying this: former NFL players becoming head coaches does so much for a locker room. And I know Todd's not even like the new trend of like these young guys like D'Amico and AP and Gerard Mayo, but because when you have a former NFL player that's leading your men, it's two type of coaches that people respond to in the NFL. They're either a genius or they're either a player's coach. It's no in the middle, And Todd is such a great player's coach, especially when you take the aspect that he's been in the fire with us. So like when he's saying in team meetings, like we can't panic, we cannot panic, we don't panic. Like he's taken that from personal experience of playing in the NFL, playing meaningful snaps in the NFL, and it goes a long ways where you know that your head coach like was in the same fire that you are as a player. There's a lot of coaches that don't got no experience at all, talking about do this, do that, and you like, bro, I can't even respect you because you've never done that, so you can't relate. You know, like you may coach the technique, but like you can't relate. You're just not in my shoes. Um, and I think Todd was Todd was scrutinized way more than he should have been scrutinized. I'm glad that you had this question. Season started off, they projected Tampa Bay to be in the Caleb Williams sweepstakes, 2-15, whatever the case is. We start off 3-1, and it's already an overperformance for Todd Bowles. Okay, we lose that 4-game win streak, and now it's Todd Bowles is on the hot seat. And then we go on like a 5-game win streak, we win 5 out of the 6, and we're fighting for division. And the storyline kind of again transition to like, oh, okay, like Todd's done enough to keep his job. Like they're 80 million over the cap. The fact that they're even here is a miracle in itself. And then I see articles like, if we lose the damn Carolina game, Todd's getting fired. And so when you're a player, you have a respect for a coach. You already know that he was given a short stick this year. I'm saying not in the past, but this year, just with being over 80 million in the cap, having the young team that he did, bringing in a quarterback that you don't know how he's going to perform. I mean, everything was against us going to the playoffs. If you were a betting man, you know you weren't going to bet that Tampa Bay Week 1 was going to be in the playoffs. And just to see like the scrutiny that he gets, and obviously that's in the industry that we play in, like that's what comes with it. But it made us, man, play way harder for him, bro. Just because we saw it, like we saw it every week. It was crazy to see like that we go from winning 5 of the last 6, going up to Lambeau, and like, damn, if we lose Carolina after the New Orleans game, this man's gonna get fired. That's crazy, you know. So that's the long answer to your question.
Well, it's a great answer because I feel like it's something people don't talk about enough. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? And the results are kind of swept under the rug, forgotten about. But you guys did come back from,
yeah,
again, not an easy situation mid-season.
right,
Like that's not easy at all, and there's a lot of people that deserve credit for that. So I mean,
yeah,
it is important to obviously give credit where credit is due, right? 100%. So I agree with a lot, pretty much everything of what you said in terms of Todd and really just being able to rebound from, not even rebound, but exceeding expectations, right? From the
yeah,
very start.
yeah, literally.
Not just Todd as a coach, but I think the team as a whole, right? And is that something where you guys knew that at the beginning of the year and said, hey, this is going to be a lot of extra motivation for us?
Nah, you don't like come together and say that, but like as guys get closer. So like for instance, I'm just using an example. Like me and Shad. Obviously, me and Shad are gonna talk about what the media is talking about because we're close. So if you have that going on in 8 different sets of twos, like it just kind of gets around that vibe gets around the team. But it's not like we're sitting in the team locker room looking at ESPN like, oh, we're gonna do this for Todd. It's kind of not that's not really usually how it works in NFL locker rooms.
Mm-hmm.
You usually are pretty close with like 3 guys or something like that, and like people talk.
Mm-hmm.
And that like that vibe kind of just comes along. And that's kind of how that was.
I gotcha. I gotcha. Well, Chase, to end it off here, well, 2 more questions here. The
Yeah.
first one is this. Right now, you are slated to be a free agent this upcoming
Yep.
off season. Um, obviously, continuity is a very important thing in the NFL. Coming back to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, what would that mean to you personally to continue to build off your first year with the team? And kind of how has that process been so far?
Yeah. For me, man, I would love to come back to Tampa. Just from the relationships I've built, kind of like the role that I can expect. I feel like, my first 4 years, I had all the continuity in the world playing in Arizona. Had my mom and sister that lived out in Arizona. I had got drafted out there. Life was flawless, and then kind of going from Miami to Denver and then back to Tampa in like a year and a half
Mm-hmm.
was just like it's just a lot. I would love to have finally some stability again in my life. Would love to come back to Tampa just because great relationship with the guys, great relationship with the coaches, and again I feel like at the stage that I am in my life, in my career, I feel like my best thing is that one true professional. You know what you're gonna get out of me. Good pass pro, good blocking ability, be able to catch the ball out the backfield, and just I know my role and I do my job, brother. I feel like that's a long something that can keep you a lot longer in this league than you should be in. I've seen guys have 12-year careers that were 70-year talent. So just that, but taking it with a grain of salt. Again, I'll go anywhere that pays the bills, brother. So, um, But that's how I'm approaching it, man. You know, hopefully I get something gets done and I can stay in the Bay. If not, you know, it's a business. We just got to figure it out.
Yeah, and you did mention coaches, and this kind of the last question I have for you here is obviously Dave Canales took the job with the Carolina Panthers. We had talked about that very briefly a little bit ago. Buccaneers have a new offense coordinator in Liam Cohen, somebody who you had played against a few times when he was with the Rams. You were with the
Yeah.
Cardinals. Have you had a chance to meet Liam Cohen yet? Did you ever meet him when you guys were playing against each other in the same division?
Yeah.
How's that been?
I have not gotten a chance to meet him just because when I'm in the facility, I don't think he was in there when he was signed or whatever. Obviously, we do have the continuity and it's cool just because, you know, played against each other in the NFC West for 4 years. I've heard a lot of great things about him, man, just about how detail oriented he is and how much of a guru that he is on that offensive side of the ball. I feel like, you know, anybody that works under that McVay, Shanahan, you know, tree, it's kind of like, well, no, McVay came from the Shanahan tree. So anybody that's under that Shanahan tree, the OG of it all, they're usually all right. You know, they're usually all right. So you know, I think Tampa definitely had a great hire in Liam Cohen.
That's awesome. And again, Chase, I wanted to thank you so much for being on, man. I'm gonna be really excited for you. Last question I always ask everybody whenever I
Yeah.
have an interview. You obviously did a lot this past year with the Bucs. Moving forward, be it Bucs fans, NFL fans in general, what should fans expect from Chase Edmonds going forward?
Man, just being the best person that he can be on and off the field, best teammate that I can be on and off the field. Um, really just spark plays. I'm gonna try to get back to really just bringing some juice, man, and finish my career out strong. I feel like at the point that I'm at right now, you know, I got a couple more goals in my head that I want to just prove to myself. In these last 3 years, hopefully, if I can get to that 10, it would be great blessing to just get to that 10, bro. And continue to provide juice plays, be a third down mismatch.
That's awesome. Well, Chase, hey,
Yes,
again,
sir, brother.
thanks so much for being on, man. Everybody watching this video, the first half of this interview, stay tuned for the second half where we're going to be talking about Scene, Chase's, out of football business venture that he's got going on with a couple of his colleagues, Voss and Shane. Stay tuned for that. You're not going to want to miss it. And, again, thank you so much, Chase, for being on. Everybody watching this, make sure you go check out Chase on all of his social medias. I'll have those linked down in the comments section below. And again, thank you guys so much for watching the first half of this interview. Hope y'all enjoyed. We'll see you in the second half of the interview. But until then, and as always, guys, goodbye for now, and go Bucs.
Go Bucs!
Hey guys, what's going on? James here, and in this video today, I'm talking to Chase Edmonds, I'm talking to Voss, and I'm talking to Shane with Scene. How are you guys all doing today?
Doing good, brother. Appreciate you having us.
Of
Yeah,
course.
thank you.
Yeah,
Super excited to be here.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm excited to have you guys here. Now, obviously, we have a lot of different types of questions to talk about. We're going to be talking with Chase about his football career, but also I want to talk about this new, business venture that you guys have going on, this new app. And Shane, I'm going to start off with you because I remember whenever me and you had started off these discussions, had kind of put this idea out there with Scene and me taking a look over at Instagram and all the different types of things revolving this app, which that'll be in the comments section below, by the way. So anybody who is going to be watching this, go check that out. But I remember specifically what caught my eye was the way you described it was this app, this Scene app, can potentially change the way people experience nightlife, right? So I was curious, Shane, what do you mean by that? I'd like you to expand on that whenever you do say, hey, this can change the way people do experience that nightlife.
Yeah, so I appreciate it, James. I think for us, right, the biggest issue with nightlife right now is the fact that it's not very transparent, right? When trying to figure out, what bar you want to go to, what nightclub, what rooftop, what speakeasy, right? There's a lot of unknowns, and one thing that we're trying to solve with Scene is taking the unknown out of figuring out the night that you want to have. We think it's such an important thing, right? You don't always get out often, right? A lot of times you're syncing up with a friend that maybe you haven't seen in a while, or maybe you're going even on a date night, right? Who knows? But being able to dictate the exact night that you're going to have, we think is important. And through the Scene app, we're going to give users that ability. So super excited about it.
Yeah, no, that sounds like an exciting prospect. So just to kind of a follow-up question for that, giving as much information as possible, right? So is this essentially sounds like a tool to where if somebody's like, let's say, new to the area, in an example for, let's just say us, like Tampa, Florida, this is going to be an app that's going to say, hey, here's all the top spots that you can go to in Tampa, and here's the different types of locations and what these places are.
Yes. So I think for sure, and I think honestly, I'm going to pass it over to Voss for a second here because Voss is really a lot of the brains in this. He has an extremely amazing tech background, and he's implemented a lot of different ways, right, to kind of figure out exactly where that perfect spot may be. So Voss, maybe you want to take us just briefly through some of the things that you're working on with the AI and dictating the recommendations and whatnot.
Yeah, thanks, Shane. Yeah, so my background is, I did my PhD in physics and I came out of that world. So numbers, data, that's my thing. So anything like this is the kind of the perfect place for me to be, involved. There's a lot of data that's available right now, um, especially in the groups that we're looking at, 21 to 35. People really, really use all that data out there in social media to make decisions. They use it to decide what they're going to buy, where they're going to go, how they're going to spend their time. And just there's just so much out there that they can virtually experience, everything and anything. Um, there's no walled gardens anymore for experiences. So if you see something you like, it can be served to you at the appropriate time. And audiences are, the reach that audiences have now, that providers of services like ours have is, it's kind of endless. We can really find our niche, for a specific venue and really reach out to those customers and those members. So basically what we want to do is create the most personalized recommendations that be most relevant to each one of our members.
Okay, yeah, and I will dive into that here shortly in terms of more so what this app is going to cater to, who this app is going to cater to. You already did answer that a little bit there, Voss, in terms of the age range and whatnot. But Chase, I want to turn it over to you real quick. Whenever Shane was describing the business model of this essentially for me, you were the creator of the app, the kind of catalyst for all of this to get started. What made you want to create this app and get into this business in the first place?
Yeah, so it was 20 damn, I think it was 2021, bro. Year 4, I was at Arizona Cardinal. I was with my best friend C Kirk. We was on the field, it was like pre-stretch or something like that. And I think we were just like jokingly talking, like, trying to create generational wealth. Shout out to him. He got his bag, 72 million. So my brother is there. For guys like me, we ended up just thinking like, man, I was like, what idea can we think of that isn't out there yet? And I think it first started off, bro, as like we called it like a quick name was like Good Night. And it was like we were like, okay, maybe we can like access security cameras for bars, lounges, and clubs to be able to like notify and let people know, consumers know, like what the line is like what's the atmosphere of the spot. And then it kind of just trickled down after we had talked about that. I ended up like I would call like I think I called Shane first. It was just like literally just shooting the shit with him, just talking ball, talking life, and told him about the idea. Then one conversation led to the next. I called a different best friend. One the conversation led to the next. The next thing, before I knew it, I started having like an hour-long conversation with people. And I was like, what, I'm gonna just write this down. I'm gonna write this down in a little notebook, take some notes, and maybe if I can figure something out, I'll figure something out. And like I think, bro, one conversation led to the next. I ended up calling a former college teammate of mine, who at the time he was basically freelancing and being a project manager. So I ended up hitting him up, hooking up with him, and he got me right. We did a little project management, and he kind of like put my idea on the paper to at least turn it into a concept, and then we tried to turn it to a concept to a product, and then kind of just small baby steps from there.
Okay, yeah, and also like Shane and Voss too. I know Chase, you obviously just mentioned you had called up Shane. How did you guys end up joining in on this project? What made you guys want to join in on this project as well? Shane, will start with you, and then Voss will have you follow up after that.
Yeah. So, listen, I'm the lucky one in this group. Voss has an amazing background in tech, as we started to talk about, and obviously Chase with his background in football and everything he's doing in his network is amazing. Listen, Chase and I have known each other, and I consider him one of my best friends since we were in 5th grade. So we go way back through the trials and tribulations of life and friendship and everything. He's managed to stay in touch with his old, small town friend from Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. Listen, he constantly was calling me. I actually believe, Chase, if we remember correctly, I was out visiting, and DeAndre Hopkins actually made a catch on the Buffalo Bills that a lot of people remember, over like 5 people in the middle of COVID. And after that game, we were sitting out on the porch talking, and Chase started just telling me about this idea. And I'll be honest, I saw it, saw that there was some glimmer in his eye, but I'll be honest, I didn't believe in it and thought this was more of just like, oh yeah, great, cool idea, buddy. Let's see what happens. Next thing I know, I guess Chase, took a completely different reaction out of me and thought that I was super, into it and thought I could really, help out. So next thing you know, we're spending what, Chase, hours. I mean, tons of nights on FaceTime, on video calls, just hashing this out, just trying to get this idea on paper. And I think that was the hardest part, just trying to cut back some of the, there's so many avenues you can go with this, in a social app and a venue discovery app, if you will. And it took us a long time to narrow it out. Believe it or not, the design for this app originated in a PowerPoint presentation that I'm not proud of, but it worked enough to get us rolling. And through that, trial and tribulation, Chase has given me a role in this to really help the sales side. That's where my background comes in: sales management, a little bit more of the operation side. So that's really where I come in. I'm going to be working with a lot of the venues we decide to partner with, and trying to create those partnerships and give users an experience they may have never gotten through a social app before. So that's my side of it. Voss, what about you?
Yeah, sure. I met Chase and Shane through a mutual friend, one of Chase's old teammates from college. And I started out as like an advisor type person who kind of came in, and yeah, I'm a serial entrepreneur, so I've had various experiences in tech and finance as well, and just kind of looking at stuff every now and then, and over time, I really got caught up in the enthusiasm, the passion that these guys have for the mission, so I got swept up in that. But then also, for me, I see 2 guys who work really hard, who have skills that are complementary to mine, who have a really good business idea, and I just wanted to, join the team. Shane. These guys are both very humble, very approachable. I mean, Chase. Chase is like obviously a superstar. Worked really hard, gotten to where he is, where very few people have. Shane's also, he runs a huge sales team, and in a large organization, and these are things that that I recognize are important in partners for me, especially in a venture like this. So I jumped on. My bag is mostly the tech side, development, product development, and the old guy in the room a little bit. I do a little bit of that.
OG
So
in the room, baby. That's good though, because I've been called OG way too many times this year, James. So that's perfect. Get me out my element.
There you go. Well, Shane and Voss, I have 2 things I want to follow up with you on before I turn over the last question over to Chase here. So Shane, you said something that was interesting for me that I want to follow up on, where your main role is going to be to reach out to these companies. So is this something that you envision in terms of just a couple of states to start off, kind of taking it nationally right away? Kind of what is going to be the progression with that?
Yeah, so that's a great question, and we put a lot of time and energy into this process. So in the beginning, without getting into too much detail, we're going to we have, I'll say, 2 cities selected as our launch cities. One of them may be the city that you root for their football team. Hint, hint. So with that being said, yeah, it's going to be super important to really get out, into these venues, into these, bars, nightclubs. And I think for us, like here's the thing to think about, right? We all have been or seen, the high-end clubs or bars that have no problems, selling out or filling up their tables or filling up their seats, whatever it is. I think our niche is really going to be into the places people may not know about, right? I visited Tampa not too long ago, and one thing I was able to realize very quickly is there's a lot of hidden gems, right? And almost everywhere is a bar. It's just kind of how it is, and I appreciate that being in Tampa. There, a lot of people obviously vacation, have a nice time, but our like I said, our niche is going to be to attack those places that maybe aren't the most popular. Maybe people haven't heard of them yet. Maybe the word hasn't gotten out. Right now, right, the way that people would find those venues is by going to Google and saying, I'm looking for a bar in this area, or I'm looking for a nightclub in this area. And our goal is to really use user-generated content right through our app to paint a picture for other users of what exactly they're walking into before they do. So we definitely have a small list of venues we're going to approach first and get that rolling, and then obviously expand. But the goal, long term, is to be nationwide, right? Not just in select cities. But for now, to start, we're focusing in on just a few select cities.
Gotcha. And that's awesome, by the way, too. And Voss, to follow up with you, I know you had mentioned it earlier, the age range, right? I wanted you to expand a little bit on that in terms of it being targeted towards younger people. Do you guys eventually see this being something that all people of all ages can participate in? Is it geared more towards men, women? Kind of just expand on that a little bit in terms of like the target audience for Scene.
Yeah, sure. I mean, 21 to 35 is kind of the sweet spot for, people who are going to go out to venues on a regular basis. So we're going out to nightclubs, bars, hookah bars and stuff like that, right? That's their usual demographic. But also it's kind of the perfect group for this type of effort to reach out. Basically, this has penetration and effectiveness in this type of age group because this is the age group that really leans on social media for venue discovery, for looking for that influence of like, okay, this is a cool spot, that's not a cool spot, or where to go, what to do. And so we feel like that is kind of the sweet spot for us. It's the intersection of all the data that's out there, the social media aspect of it, and also just the types of people who are actually going to go out and who want to embrace these experiences.
And just to answer the second part of your question, James, how you asked, eventually is the vision to where all types of people can use this? That's absolutely correct. Something that, I see in the vision of this thing is like literally you can be a 45-year-old middle-aged man with your wife trying to find out where the best jazz bar lounge is or where the best, cocktail lounge is, where it's actually a quiet type of vibe. The ambiance isn't too loud. So it's collectively geared towards every single type of demographic that you can think of. But obviously, like Devos said, to penetrate and to get traction, you need the 21 to 35-year-old people who actually rely on content, like to make content and create content to be able to spread to where you want to go to.
Yeah, and Chase, that kind of, first off, yeah, I agree that, it kind of expanding like that is awesome. Love to see that, and I can't wait to see that grow. Chase, last question here regarding Scene is for you. In terms of production now on the app, I know you guys have an Instagram page. I know you guys have a website.
Yeah.
Where is everything now in terms of production on the app? Is this something we could expect to see on the App Store soon? Will it take a bit longer? And then also, how can people stay up to date on what's going on with Scene?
Yeah, so that's a very dynamic question. I've learned that as I've been going on this entrepreneurship role. I'd say that product-wise, we're about 60% of the way from having a product that we're comfortable with in terms of an MVP. So MVP is just a fancy word for minimal viable product. So can your product at the most simplest form solve the problem you're trying to solve, trying to find a solution for? And can your audience, your consumers use that product not complex, just very simple? I would say that's one part of the MVP. And then the next is really us trying to narrow down what people might refer to as a MSP, which is just minimal segment products. So really finding that tight niche of where exactly we want to target, where exactly we want to go after. That has to do with ambassadors, and that has to do with just partnerships as a whole. So again, it's dynamic just because like in April, I'm going out to San Diego. A mentor of mine, I'm wearing this pack shirt, Pro Athlete Community. Chip Pausick, he was a former co-founder of 2U, which is an educational platform. He got me, put into a tech summit in San Diego. I want to go out there. Hopefully I'm more prepared than I am now, and able to just kind of, showcase what I've been working on, show my vision, show my belief in it, and we'll go from there. So I would say soft launch, we're kind of going 2 to 6 months, and that's kind of like a range. But for me, the one thing that I'm realizing more and more, and Voss, he does a great job of just bringing so much value in terms of the back end side of things. With my network and just who I am, being an NFL player right now, I get access in the doors that we have no business getting access into, that a lot of people who worked hard to do tech startups and to do startup companies couldn't do. So for me right now, what we're focusing on, bro, is just having an infrastructure plan put together to where we bring this to someone and they're actually able to say, wow, it's a miracle that you guys got this far. I don't know how you guys got this far, but we're here to help you guys and do it the right way and grow it organically. So long story short, 2 to 6 months.
No, I hear you.
Yeah.
I think that is obviously an awesome thing, right? Are you guys planning on doing any type of like beta launching or any type of like testing kind of groups and things like that?
So Voss can definitely answer this in more detail, but the plan is definitely, like Shane said, in the 2 local markets we want to do, really orchestrate a controlled environment and be able to control that environment and just see if we can prove that we have a proof of concept from uh, user to business and vice versa. So it's a long road ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just highlight one point. I will echo one thing that Chase said. Because of who he is and what he's done and who he knows, like we get into rooms that, I've been doing this for a while that I'm just like, how did you how did you get this guy to pick up the phone? I couldn't have, these are pretty amazing introductions, and the caliber of people we're meeting and get to work with is phenomenal. So very lucky to have that. In terms of like roadmap, I mean, we'll probably do like a beta launch with a very small group, 50 to 100 kind of test in a few months, and then grow from there. We'd want to basically make sure that we beat up, our business model and all our processes, make sure that everything's solid before we really get out there to, the broad consumer market. But, updates will always be available on our Instagram page or on our website. So
Yeah, and James, just to clarify on that website, because I know at some point, we might get in more detail about this, but right now, all it is a more information page, right? Our goal is to keep the users who are interested in the loop from the very beginning. So if you go to that page, if you put in your information, you will automatically be added to our mailing list where every type of update, that we have will come out through official email communication. I think we're working on some texting communication as well, which will obviously help as well. And I think, the biggest message we have right now is if your interest is piqued, go to www.sceneinc.com and fill in your information and hop on the list, and it'll be here soon enough. So
All
super
right.
exciting.
Yeah, right on. And Shane, Voss, and Chase, obviously, thank you guys for not just filling me in, but also filling in my subscribers to Scene. For everybody who is watching this interview, I will have the link to the Scene Instagram page, to the Scene website where you guys can sign up for the mailing list down in the pinned comment down in the comments section below. So again, Shane, Voss, Chase, thank you guys so much for being on. It is greatly, greatly appreciated. I'm personally excited to see, what this Scene app is going to develop into. I mean, also it helps that I'm part of the target audience as well. So, so it's going to be awesome, guys. I'm very excited, and thank you guys so much for being on. I greatly appreciate it.
Thanks,
Appreciate
James.
you, James. Thank you for having us, bro.
thank you, James.